Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. This is Andy Webb with Lifestyles Unlimited. And as always, we're working on your financial freedom. You know, hey, if you're new to the program, if you've not heard of Lifestyles Unlimited, we are an education and mentoring group, right? We help people become real estate investors with the target in mind of retiring themselves from their corporate, their day job, whatever it is, in 5 years or less. A lot of people do it. And of course, along the way, we hear a lot of questions, right? You're probably sitting out there if you've never invested in a single family house as a rental or apartments, right? Common questions, right? How do I get financing? How do I, things you're thinking about, how do I find a tenant, right? A good tenant. How do I find a good property? How much money do I need? What type of insurance should I get? How fast can I retire? Well, 5 years or less if you're following the right roadmap. And those are all great questions, right? Hear them all the time, quite frankly. And they're very operational, very concrete sort of questions. But the question I would ask you in return is how quickly are you able to effect change in your own life? Right? Are you that person that sits around and says, yeah, I need to do this thing, or I should do this thing, and I've been thinking about, right? And you just keep thinking. You just keep thinking about it. A lot of people are in that very, very boat. And the whole idea came to me recently. I was listening to one of the other hosts conduct an interview with one of our mentors. This was earlier in the week. And actually, I was listening to that on the podcast, so it was recorded. And all the shows get archived out at our website. If you go to lifestylesunlimited.com, you can check those there. Click on the radio tab. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, any number of social media. But I was listening to the podcast, and the mentor said, it's hard sometimes to get somebody to change their mind. How do you get them to think differently? Right? How do you inspire them? Kind of compel them, I suppose, to effect change in their own lives, right? And of course, then it's kind of a corollary question to that is how quickly does that change take place? Commonly, glacial, slow, very, very slowly. Maybe you're not even aware of the changes that you're more or less passively allowing to occur. We need you to take action. We need you to move faster. If you want to retire in 5 years or less, that's important. And typically what most people need is some form of catalyst, essentially. And if you think back to your, high school chemistry, maybe college, whatever, a catalyst, right? It's something that you add to a reaction that increases the rate of that reaction, right? Increases the speed. And by the way, that catalyst doesn't get, consumed in the process, but it gets things moving, right? That's what Lifestyles Unlimited is for 50,000 members, right? We've been around for 30 years. The membership base has really grown, and we serve as a catalyst, essentially, in helping move people forward, right? And I want to talk about that today. I've been thinking about this topic since I heard that comment from the mentor. And of course, in the background, what's been going on, so the idea here is change, right? Change, making change occur faster, right? Through some form of catalyst. And of course, the bigger picture around us right now in terms of change is what? Well, the presidential election, I've been watching what's been going on there. Let's start there. In fact, that could have some impact on us, I suppose. And then we get through that conversation around politics, right? We're not going to go deep into politics. Then I want to get back to that topic of you making change in your own life, right? And what sort of catalyst we can help you with there. So let's start with that elephant in the room. Pun intended, right? That elephant may not be in the room anymore as it appears. The press declared candidate Biden the president-elect yesterday. Of course, the process continues, right? There is a formal process behind this. It's not the media that makes the decision, but the states and their individual electors, right? So they'll finalize those results by December 8th, is my understanding. Early December, we'll hear from the electors, and that will conclude the process. So, but it's clear, right? We see the direction, we see the tendency already. So in all likelihood, that's where we're going to land. And if you read some of the media out there, I was reading an article just yesterday, in fact, in the Houston Chronicle. What can we expect? So let's say Biden gets into the White House, as it appears he will. What can we expect? Well, he's going to start reversing a lot of things that we saw over the last 3 to 4 years just through, presidential fiat, right? For lack of a better word there. And he may encounter some struggles, right? We don't know the outcome of a number of Senate races. Right now it's 48-48. There are a few of those that are open that will actually run into January. There's a really good chance that at the end of the day, we're going to have essentially gridlock, right? Senate remains with the Republicans, House and White House in Democratic control. And depending on where you sit, gridlock might be a good thing, right? When they're up there, their hands are tied. They can't push undue regulations, laws, etc., down upon us. So maybe that's good. Big business tends to favor that. We're not big business, of course. We're, individuals, families that are building our own future through rental real estate. But, we'll see how that plays out ultimately. But I think it'll mean more consensus seeking, more centrist sort of positioning, which is good for everyone. Now, if you've heard Del Walmsley on his show, he said it before. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who's in power. We're going to do what we do. We're going to continue to invest. We're going to continue to build our futures through residential real estate, buying those single-family houses, buying those apartment complexes. That's not going to change. Maybe some portions of our approach may change. Maybe some of the tax advantages go away. But remember, we make money 5 or even 6 ways in real estate, so we're still armed with quite a few moving parts that we can leverage there. Now, we're going to head into a break here in just a moment. When we come back, I want to bring up actually a message that I received, actually the whole membership base at Lifestyles Unlimited received from Del Walmsley and Lynn Murrow. Del Walmsley, he's the founder, right? He founded Lifestyles Unlimited 30 plus years ago. So believe me, he's somebody that has seen the change, right, as it relates to Capitol Hill, as it relates to the economy, as it relates to recession here and there, right? The Great Recession back in 2008, and making money throughout. Right, he's been around for 30 plus years. Lifestyles has been around for 30 plus years. Lynn Murrow, she was my mentor. In fact, when I joined back in early 2012 as a member at Lifestyles Unlimited, I am still a member. Obviously, I'm participating in the radio show, but I'm continuing to invest. And I want to share with you the message that they sent, and then we'll get into that notion of catalyst. Lifestyles is a catalyst. We will propel you along. It ties together with that message that I'm going to share, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. This is Andy Webb. Today on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, we're going to talk about change, right? Not in the context of the recent presidential election, although that's certainly out there, and that's going to bring some change, I think. But change in your life. Right. And I was talking ahead of the break about a catalyst, right? In any chemical reaction, you add a catalyst, it speeds up that reaction. And let's face it, making an important decision, not what shoes am I going to wear today, but an important decision, it's hard, right? And making change in your life can be even more difficult and something that you just put off, right? Well, if you can throw a catalyst in there that helps accelerate that process, that change, that decision making, you're going to benefit, right? So we're going to talk about some catalysts that we supply as your mentor, right? As your educator at Lifestyles Unlimited. But I want to share a message with you. I got this, the day of the election, November 3rd. This came out from Del Walmsley, the founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, and Lynn Murrow, the executive vice president. Lynn was my mentor, by the way, back when I started, early 2012. Huge impact on how we developed as investors, by the way. But they said, hey, this came out very early in the day and encouraged us to vote, right? Get out if you haven't already. If you have, thank you for doing so. By the way, just separately, this, if you've been following the press at all, I mean, the turnout was tremendous. Highest voter turnout projected, right? Since 1900. 120 years, almost 160 million Americans. That's huge. That's great. If you got out and voted, I thank you as well. You're essentially a catalyst in this sense in affecting change, potentially, right? Whether you voted for one side or the other, doesn't matter. You got out and you did it. And that's the important part. But Lynn and Del, they go on to say, we believe that America is the best place on earth to live. Now, they do say, hey, we believe people are fallible and can be difficult. And Del says that too, right? All the time. You've heard him. Real estate is easy. People are difficult. Real estate is very easy. It's a repeatable process. This is me going off script, not reading from the notes here, but people are what make it hard. Again, it's hard to make decisions sometimes. It's hard to effect change in your own life without the proper catalyst, without that mentor. You make it hard on yourself. Right, and we're here to make it easier for you. But anyhow, as they said, we are in a time of change right now, likely to last for many years. And during this time, here's what they say. We will continue at Lifestyles. We will continue to embody the mission and vision of Lifestyles Unlimited. And here's what it is: to change lives, right? Going back to that notion of change, to change lives by empowering, educating, and inspiring members to achieve financial freedom. Like I said at the start of the show, we're here working on your financial freedom. You've got to step up and work on making a change. Again, it can be hard. So we're going to talk about those three pieces: empowering you, educating you, inspiring you. That's how Lifestyle serves as a catalyst to the change in your life, right? To help push you to achieving that financial freedom. Okay. Now they continue. I'll just do want to footnote this, that, hey, no matter who wins the presidential election, we will continue to champion the entrepreneurial spirit. You don't have to be an entrepreneur, this is Andy speaking, to be a real estate investor. It's, again, very straightforward. You'll discover a grain of that entrepreneurial spirit once you do get started, though. I'm going to tell you that for sure. Anyhow, we'll continue to champion that spirit, free enterprise, right? The rights that support the creation of wealth that we work towards, right? And passive income. And here's a key point. Housing will remain a critical need for all families, right? And we think we can continue to craft a mutually beneficial way to supply that across the country, okay? We do that across the country now, right? Del founded Lifestyles Unlimited, again, 30 years ago in Houston, in Texas, right? Eventually opened offices here in Dallas, where I sit, down in Central Texas, South Texas, now nationally, right? Phoenix, Arizona recently. We've got investors all over the place. I get to review deals when I'm looking for a multifamily passive deal that are across the country. Saw one come across yesterday, I guess, in Mississippi, I think it was. Right, so we're national, right? We are across the nation, and we are working to serve the community, right? To provide that housing. That's what we do. So again, let's focus now on those three ways that Lifestyles works towards helping you as a catalyst in your life to affect that change that you need and to make it go a little bit faster, right? We say you can retire in 5 years or less. We mean it. People do it. But you do have to take action. You can't just sit on your hands and think about it. Change is hard, though, right? My wife and I, we took our son. I'm going to stop calling him a toddler. He's almost 4. I've been instructed he's no longer toddling, but took him out to West Texas. We went to Palo Duro Canyon, Palo Duro State Park. Beautiful, beautiful landscape. You're driving along. It's pretty flat. And all of a sudden there's just this giant crevice that opens up in the earth, right? We were there. We did some hiking, hiked the Lighthouse Trail, also up to the eponymous formation there, right? The Lighthouse, this stunning rock formation. But the canyon itself, it was formed by the prairie dog town fork of the Red River over 90 million years, I read. Right? And this is you. This is how you make change, right? It's of that glacial variety, slow moving. A little bit of erosion, a little bit of shifting here and there. Right? Not that big change. Right? And that's true for most of us. That's true for all of us, in some degree or another. So we need to catalyze that. Now, you might have the occasional realization here and there. Suddenly, boom, light bulb goes off. You know where I hear about that a lot is when I listen to the interviews that Del Walmsley and Al Gordon do, typically on Tuesdays on the radio. Right? They'll bring in a multifamily, maybe single family investor, and they'll tell us, when you went through the Financial Freedom Seminar, the 2-day program that we do. I'll tell you a little bit about that here later. But what light bulbs went off, and they always have light bulbs are just blinking all over the place. So that takes us to the first piece of the puzzle, the first thing that Lifestyles does as a catalyst for you to affect change in your life. It's empowering you. It's empowering you. And just to define that for you, empowering just means to give someone the power, right? To give somebody the means to achieve something. You're sitting out there following the conventional path to retirement. Hopefully, right? Maybe you get there, maybe you don't. Right? That's that path that says, hey, you're gonna go to school. Maybe you're doing that virtually right now if you're, in grade school. You're going to get good grades so you can get into a college. Maybe you shift majors a few times. I was guilty of that. You're going to get out of college. You're going to be saddled with debt. You're going to get a job. You're going to work at that job, hopefully long enough to build up a nest egg so that you can retire. Maybe you get there. Maybe you don't. And then if you do retire, you watch that balance, that million that you started with, whatever it was, start to dwindle. And you hope you cross that finish line before you run out of funds. That's the conventional wisdom path. But we show you a different way. That's the first thing we do to empower you, is to make you understand and realize there is an alternative. I didn't know it 8-9 years ago. I was happy in my little corporate, chair, sitting in front of the computer. I had no idea. We started to hear this very program, actually. Every weekend we started to catch it, and that empowered us to realize that there is another mindset. And that was the start for me, right? And we learned, you can retire in 5 years or less. My wife did it in 3. Because I was shown the roadmap. I was shown the way to get there. I didn't know that map existed, but I was empowered. I was given the map, and we went happily down that path. So, hey, stay tuned. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the other catalysts that we as Lifestyles provide to you to affect change in your life.
Warning. Listening to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show will change your life. We will teach you how to create wealth and passive income so you can be financially free. And now, back to your host.
Welcome back to the show. This is Andy Webb, and today on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, we're talking about catalysts, right? A catalyst is something that speeds up a chemical reaction, makes things happen faster, right? And Lifestyles Unlimited is that catalyst for you to effect change in your own life, change your path, above all, and get to the retirement finish line a lot faster, 5 years or less. How do we do it? By empowering you. That's what we're going to talk about. Wrap up that conversation first. Talk about a little bit of education. That's part of it. We educate you, and we inspire you. And that's an extremely important piece. I was very inspired. I went to one of the case studies this past Thursday. I'll tell you a little bit about that depending on how we're doing on time at the end of the show, but great numbers. I was very, very inspired by what I saw newer investors doing. Folks that have just been in this for a year, so all good stuff. But as it relates to empowering you, think about it, right? How quickly do you make change in your life typically, right? Not fast. More of the glacial pace, right? More of the speed of the prairie dog town fork of the Red River rolling through Palo Duro Canyon over 90 million years. That's never going to get you to retirement quickly, is it? So we want to speed that up. And among other things, part of the change has to be inside your own head, right? You've got to change your mindset. I was telling you just ahead of the break that for me and my wife personally, that was being shown an alternative to the path that we were firmly on. Both working full-time corporate jobs. My wife suffering more than others, me, right? But that enabled us to get her out of there in 3 years. When we got onto the roadmap, when we got onto the path. Changing your mindset can be difficult, though, right? It takes a first step, okay? And a very easy first step for you is what I would encourage you to do is to check out freeworkshoplivestream.com. After my wife and I had listened to the radio for I don't know how many months, we finally went to one of the free workshops. Now, back then it was live and in person, right? Now, there was no COVID-19 9 years ago, but now we're doing these live online. I actually attended one a week and a half or so ago. We've got a number of presenters. I happened to go to the one that David Rosico was presenting. Great show, great presentation. A lot of chit chat in the sideline there. Right? You could chat live online there as well. But that's where you start to learn about the alternatives, about the other mindset. That's where you start to become empowered to make a change. Because until you know what you can do, retire in 5 years or less, by buying houses, by buying apartments, you're just stuck. You stay on that conventional path. So we empower you. We show you what you can do. And it starts at that free workshop, right? And we get into a number of topics. There will be some small case studies on how single family works, how multifamily works, but a lot of mindset. And mindset, again, is hugely important. You'll learn, for example, we talk a lot about, if you've read Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he presents his whole book basically as a journey, a transition from being dependent, which is what I was when I worked for that employer, which is what my wife was when she worked for that employer, which is what you are working for your employer. You're dependent on them. A lot of people are no longer dependent on their employers and not by their own choice because they don't have that control. The pandemic has led, right, to high levels of unemployment, to people being cut. That's what can happen when you are dependent. But Stephen Covey, he moves you from dependence to independence, which sounds great and it is good. But independence is when you're doing it all on your own. You're running the show. It's a first step. You want to get there. But we want to then move you a little bit further to something called interdependence. That's where you're working with other people, right? You've got a team. That's what we have at Lifestyles Unlimited, right? That helps you. Again, going back to the notion of a catalyst, one of the big catalysts we have is our mentor team, right? So when I joined, we sat down with the mentor, talked about finances, talked about goals, and we're given a concrete path. In our case, buying single family, right? To build up capital, to go to the next step, which would be multifamily. Other people start with multifamily, right? You sit down with the mentor and they'll help you hash that out, right? They've got the experience. That's a beautiful thing. We've got single family mentors. We've got multifamily mentors. These are people like you and me that maybe started with no experience 9 years ago, but have built up a tremendous amount of experience. Buying houses, buying apartments. Been in the industry for a while. When we have a question where we're not sure what to do, things pop up, right? Unexpected. Maybe we're buying in a new part of town. Go to the mentors, right? And they help guide us. They empower us. They make us feel comfortable going into those new parts of town or other cities, or like I said, to Mississippi, right, as an option. So that's how you get empowered. And I would add to that, thinking of the notion of interdependence, you do have to build a team. It's not just the mentors. If I think concretely about fixing up a house, do you know how to renovate a house? Do you know how to renovate a 200, 300 unit apartment complex? Right. I know, again, I didn't 9 years ago. Mentors helped me. The education that I got at Lifestyles Unlimited helped me. But the vendor team, which again took us from dependence to independence to interdependence, building that team around us, those contractors, the general contractor, the insurance agent, the real estate agents at Lifestyles Unlimited, that helped us find the properties. That team is pivotal. That also empowers you to go down this path and to go faster than you might think you could. That case study that I went to on Thursday, again, it was virtual. The first presenting couple on the single family path are down in San Antonio, joined earlier this year just ahead of the outbreak of COVID-19. And in that time, have bought 10 houses. Again, it comes down to your capital, comes down to your starting point, but that's phenomenal progress. And that's because they were empowered to do so because they saw the map. They followed the map. They worked with the mentors. They work with the vendors. And they follow the education. So let's shift gears now. That notion of being empowered is huge. That changing of your mindset is extremely important. But alongside that, you need to be educated as well, right? I've heard what you're saying. I want to get into real estate. What is it? Ready, fire, aim. You got to get things in the right sequence. And you do need to understand those first questions that I opened the show with. How do I get financing? How do I find a tenant? How do I find a good property, right? Those how questions, right? More process type questions. How much money do I need to buy a single family house in Dallas, in San Antonio, in Houston? What type of insurance do I need, right? That goes part and parcel with getting educated. And that's the second piece of that statement. We at Lifestyles Unlimited, our mission is to change lives by empowering you, by educating you and inspiring you. So the educational track is hugely important. And I knew nothing about investing in real estate back in 2012. Aside from the little bits that I'd heard on the radio, I knew nothing, right? Worked a corporate job in finance. Okay, numbers, sure, I can crunch numbers all day long, no problem. Put an Excel spreadsheet in front of me, great. I'll get excited, but show me a stinky house where three of the windows are broken and the floor's out of level and roof looks like it's in pretty rough shape. What do? I don't know. But that's part of the education. Then some of that's online, some of that's in person, some of that's through road trips, which we're doing online right now as well. But there are a lot of different tracks out there. Right? If you want to go that single family route, which is what we did, there's a whole educational path that you can do online to learn about those questions that I just asked: financing, tenants, properties, how do I get, money, insurance, etc. That's all online. And the same holds true for the multifamily as well. So the educational piece, boy, like I said, we've been doing this for 30 years. Real estate is easy. It really doesn't change a whole lot. The concepts that we put into play, best product, best price, that doesn't change, right? Maybe the market changes around us just a little bit, but we've been doing this for 30 years. The educational component is huge, and we know what we're doing. So you want to get involved to get empowered and to get educated. Okay, I'm going to give you a link when we come back that will help you kickstart that education, so stay tuned.
Here's Lifestyles Unlimited founder and CEO, self-made multimillionaire, and national radio host, Del Walmsley, on getting the information you need to get through this.
So you ask yourself, isn't this the wrong time to get out of the stock market? Very well could be. But maybe it might go down. And then you ask yourself, man, if I would have had some of that money, I could have used it. People are going to be afraid. And the people who are in real estate that are losing money are going to be afraid. And they're going to want to get out. And when they do, we're going to be able to go in and buy at very advantageous prices that are going to change our family's future, quite honestly. So you need information on how to do that. You need the knowledge of how to get through this. You need to get into Lifestyles right now.
Lifestyles Unlimited has been helping people succeed since 1990. Join us for our free online real estate workshop and learn the 7 principles we teach to run our businesses and provide for our families. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. This is Andy Webb, and today on the show we have been talking about change. And the pace at which change moves in our lives typically is pretty glacial, right? Pretty slow. And you need a catalyst, ultimately, to help speed up whatever change it is you want to see. And if it is finding your financial freedom by investing in residential real estate like we do at Lifestyles Unlimited, we are that catalyst, right? Our mission is to change lives 3 ways: by empowering you, by educating you, and by inspiring you to achieve that financial freedom. And we talked already about the empowering piece of that, but that's huge, right? A lot of times you just don't know that there's a different way. And we empower you by presenting new ideas and by showing you that alternative roadmap. That's why we have the mentors there as well. They empower you by helping give you direction. Right, back in the day when we started, we sat and met with our mentor. They helped us move down that single family path to start with. Well, now we're shifting gears to multifamily, so we've naturally sat down with a couple of the multifamily mentors. right? You can go different directions, right? Single family, you can be a multifamily investor passively, meaning you're not doing anything. You're just contributing your funds to the pot and taking a quarterly dividend, right? As those come down the pike. You could be an IRO, right? Independent rental owner, meaning you buy an apartment by yourself, not as a syndication, or you could be that syndicator, right? You're getting that group of like-minded people together to invest in an apartment complex, and that's mind-blowing, right? That's empowering. When you go to the free workshop, again, freeworkshoplivestream.com to register, hour and a half long. For a lot of people, the notion that I can participate in apartment investing, no way. I didn't think it was possible, right? But it is. It is by virtue of the fact that I'm not trying by myself to take down a multi-million dollar apartment complex, right? I'm going in with other people, with an experience, with a lead investor, somebody that's been educated themselves with Lifestyles Unlimited, right? And then other passive investors, we're putting our money together and we're buying an apartment complex. That is life-changing. And again, you can do it as a passive. You can do it as what we call a lead, the syndicator, the project manager, essentially. But you'll sit down with a mentor, figure that out. That's where you get empowered. Now you transition to getting educated. Well, guess what? Naturally, we have those tracks out there online as well. And of course, in person, we have, lunch and learns, any manner of events that go on. And, same thing, right? You'll find an online, like an education track for single family. You'll have one for the multifamily passive investor. Because your role is a little bit different, isn't it, than that of a lead. You need to know how to vet those lead investors, those project managers, before you participate. You can become a certified passive investor, in fact. And that shows that lead investor that you're educated, that you know what you're doing, that you're qualified to get into that deal in the first place. And by the same token, there's the multifamily track as well for the lead investor. My wife and I, after meeting with the mentor the first time, we got out there onto the online platform and, went down the progression for somebody that's looking for, say, a small apartment complex as an independent rental owner. 20 different courses, 20 plus. I'm looking at them right now. The general path, how to locate multifamily property. It's a little different than single family, right? How to evaluate multifamily property. Again, it's a little bit different than single family, which we're experienced with. Financing, feasibility, right? Doing your due diligence. Just giving you some examples here. Budgeting, rehab, the process of leasing, right? Some of the more detail around fair housing, that sort of thing. A lot of education. And we went through that entire thing, right? All online in the middle of the pandemic. Great time to do it. But all of that education is available to you as well. And then again, lots of, I try to look at the calendar at the start of every month and go ahead and register for everything that I see that is important. There are a number of lunch and learns coming up around taxes. 2021's around the corner, right? January 20th, they'll be swearing in that president, whoever it is. And you're going to want to be ready. So there's a single family tax panel coming up later this week. Day after that, multifamily tax panel, right? These are classes that you're going to want to attend to be prepared, right? To continue that education. Never stop learning, right? You don't want to stop learning, and there's plenty of opportunity here. There's another one here. Are you paying your general contractor too much? Q&A session with Lynn Murrow, again, our EVP, and David Fisher. And David Fisher, that takes me to another topic as far as education goes. I wanted to give you a website that you're going to want to check out. We talked about the free workshop, which is at freeworkshoplivestream.com. David Fisher is one of our educators that leads the Financial Freedom Program seminar, the Financial Freedom Seminar. That's what we commonly call the 2-day. And again, keep in mind, David Fisher, like everyone else, he came from a background with no knowledge in real estate, has made himself a multimillionaire by applying what we teach here. Been doing it for a decade plus or so. And he's now teaching that class, and I've attended that as well. A lot of information when it comes to education, a lot of information. We've got other educators, Lee Rees, for example, as well. So different presenters. And when you're a Financial Freedom Program member, you can go to those as many times as you need. And the first day is devoted to single family. So there's that education component, learning all that you need to know about single family investing so you can get started. Second day, multifamily, all that you need to know about multifamily investing, about, whether you're a passive or lead investor, right? Different pieces there. Now you'll have to get into more detail as part of the education when you become a lead, let's say, right? There are a lot of moving parts there, but this really gets you going. I mentioned earlier in the show, light bulbs, right? Change is pretty slow, but boy, when you sit through this 2-day seminar, light bulbs are just blinking above your head left and right because you're learning so much and your eyes are opening. Your eyes are opening. You're understanding just how we make money 5 ways with our single-family houses or 6 ways with our apartments. They get into that detail for you. So a lot of good education, single-family road trips, multifamily road trips, opportunity to see how people have taken an apartment, get into the details, into the nitty-gritty with them, how they turn it around, and what did the financing look like? What do the finances look like now as they're returning all this money to their passive investors after a refi or maybe a sale, something like that. So lots of opportunity. And again, our goal is to change lives by empowering you, number 1, by educating you, which we're talking about, number 2, and finally by inspiring you to achieve that financial freedom. And that third piece, inspiring people, again, it's huge as well. It's not uncommon. People go, they sit through the education, they understand it, but they still maybe have a little bit of difficulty applying it. Well, get together with your mentor. They're going to help you. But go to the case studies. That's a huge piece because now you're seeing how other people just like you have applied this and gotten real results in real life, right? Just like I said, I went to the one this past Thursday. It was interesting too. Traditionally those are local. They're in person, but with the online version, it's live. I was able to attend the presentation of a couple from San Antonio. They just joined in I think it was March of this year, 2020. And in that time, they bought 10 houses. If you've heard any of the earlier shows, other shows, we talk about the average cash flow per house is around $400. If I just apply that to their 10 houses, $4,000 a month coming in the door. For a lot of people, that's going to replace a lot of their expenses. That's going to cover those. So if that change has suddenly come down the pike as a result of the pandemic and your boss has said, I'm sorry, sayonara, you got to get out of here. Guess what? You're sitting a lot better off than you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But you got to get started. That inspiration, though, comes from going to events like this because, boy, it's just phenomenal. I love, I see their faces and they're lighting up. They're enjoying presenting, of course. They love what they've achieved. It's huge. And the numbers are important, but just to hear the story and to see what's in the future, what their goals are, what they want to do next. Sometimes a little kid will pop off, in the background. You're like, just like I'm dealing with here, right? It's very inspirational. That was in San Antonio. Then we shifted gears and came up here to Dallas. Similar story. Recent members, they presented a portfolio of 3 houses that they'd done. All told, cash flowing a little bit north of $1,600 for the portfolio. That's more than $400 a month, by the way. So get inspired. Case study, that's one way to do it. Going on those multifamily road trips, that's another way to do it. Single family road trips as well. And just generally being around other like-minded investors, like-minded people. That's huge too, We spend a lot of time with the folks we've met at Lifestyles Unlimited, just going to dinner and hearing what they're up to and the wonderful things that they're doing. And that's a tremendous help as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Lifestyles Unlimited Wealth and Passive Income Expo. I got to go to that this past February before the pandemic started. Well, we are planning on doing that in 2021 as well. That's a huge place to get all of these things. Empowerment, education, of course, and inspiration in full. And that's going to be April 29th and 30th as well as May 1st. So don't have a lot of details around it just yet. We'll be down in Houston, of course, but you get plenty of education there, plenty of inspiration across those 3 days. I want to give you that other website. If you want to check out that 2-day seminar that's hugely discounted at the moment, you can become a member for 2 years for just $297. Gives you access to the vendor program, but more importantly, gets you started affecting change in your own life by going to that 2-day seminar. That is financialfreedomlivestream.com, financialfreedomlivestream.com, promo code SAVEBIG.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.